Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to debunk a massive, massive myth in the tech world. There's this pervasive idea out there, right? The idea that becoming a senior engineer is really just about writing more complex code, learning the absolute trendiest new framework, or, I don't know, memorizing obscure algorithms. But today, we're actually going to look at the reality of what separates the good from the truly great. Spoiler alert, it's not the code, it's the communication.
Right off the bat, let's hit our core theme for today. Senior engineers make their teams faster. How? Because they communicate to reduce confusion, mitigate risk, and unblock others. Think about it. When you completely remove guesswork from a team's workflow, everything just naturally accelerates. Clarity is speed. That is the mantra I want you to keep in the back of your mind as we go through this entire framework.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're covering 5 key areas: the true senior superpower, async updates and tickets, handling blockers and incidents, architecture and disagreements, and finally, the senior communication standard. Let's jump in.
All right, Section 1, the true senior superpower. We're fundamentally reframing what communication actually means for a senior individual contributor.
You know, a junior engineer often treats communication kind of like a daily diary entry. Like, "Dear diary, here is exactly what I typed on my keyboard today." But a senior engineer, they understand that their communication is actually a team-focused execution tool. Your job isn't just to talk or give a status dump. It's to provide the exact context the team needs to make smart, safe, and lightning-fast decisions. So how exactly do they do that? Well, every piece of senior communication successfully answers 5 critical questions. And notice what's missing here. Fancy words. There's no tech jargon just for the sake of sounding smart. If you can clearly answer what's happening, why it matters, what's blocked, what decision is needed, and what the very next step is, you're operating at a senior level. It's as simple as that.
Moving right along to Section 2, async updates and tickets. Let's see how this mindset completely transforms everyday execution.
Let's look at the stark contrast between these two approaches. We've all seen the bad async update, right? Working on the payment API. I mean, that tells us absolutely nothing. It literally creates a dozen new questions in the project manager's head. On the flip side, the senior update creates immediate, total alignment. It breaks down exactly what's done, what's currently in flight, the blockers, and crucially, the risks.
Seriously, if you're taking notes, you're going to want to grab a screenshot of this template right now. Because senior engineers use this exact format to give updates before anyone ever has to chase them down to ask, "Hey, where are we at on this?" Providing this level of detail without being prompted, that's what true ownership looks like.
And that exact same logic applies to writing tickets. A weak ticket like "add bank logo upload" is basically just a vague wish. It creates 10 basic questions for whoever ends up picking it up. But a strong ticket, it acts as a blueprint. It outlines the scope, the edge cases, and even the non-goals, like what we are specifically not doing. A senior ticket makes life infinitely easier for QA, backend, and product teams because it builds a shared understanding right from the jump.
Which brings us to Section 3. What happens when things inevitably go wrong? Let's talk about handling blockers and incidents. "I'm blocked by the back end." We've all heard it, and honestly, maybe we've all said it. But saying just that is weak, and frankly, it's pretty unprofessional. The crucial point here is that a blocker without impact is just noise. It sounds like, well, complaining. But a senior blocker details the impact, what's actually needed, and even proposes a solution. It hands the team a clear, actionable path forward.
To get those blockers out in the open early, you can use a framework just like this one. By defining the actual impact, what you've already tried, and exactly what you need from a specific owner by a specific deadline, you transform yourself from a victim of a blocker into a problem solver. Your team can now actually step in and help you.
But what about when a real fire breaks out, a production incident? Communication here is absolutely paramount. Saying the server is down, checking, is terrible because it leaves everyone totally in the dark. During an incident, silence just creates anxiety and panic. But clear, structured updates like the senior example, they bring calm, telling the team exactly what the issue is, the blast radius, your current action, and when you'll update them next. That shows incredible control.
All right, onto Section 4, architecture and disagreements. Let's see how senior engineers navigate complex technical decisions.
You know how it is. Junior engineers absolutely love jumping straight into the hyped-up tools. Let's use microservices. Let's use Kafka. But architecture isn't about using the most impressive technology. Senior engineers start with the actual problem. They look at the constraints, team size, deployment frequency, database ownership, expected traffic. They're completely constraint-driven, not hype-driven.
So how exactly do you map out all those constraints? By laying things out just like this. Outlining the trade-offs, the risks, and the migration plan means you aren't just trying to win a technical argument to prove you're the smartest person in the room. You're laying out the real-world trade-offs to make the final decision much, much clearer for the entire business.
Now, obviously, with those big decisions come disagreements. It's inevitable. And professional disagreement is actually an engineering responsibility. If a design has a risk, staying silent means you're just avoiding responsibility. But saying, no, that's wrong, just makes people super defensive. You have to challenge ideas without attacking people, acknowledge the benefit of their idea, state your specific concern, and then offer a recommendation.
This actually builds into an exact formula for professional pushback. I understand the goal. My concern is the risk. Here's the trade-off. My recommendation is this. By following this exact formula, you remain clear, polite, and assertive. You never stay silent when a design carries hidden risks, but you also don't alienate your teammates in the process.
Let's move to our fifth and final section, the Senior Communication Standard. We're going to synthesize everything we've talked about today.
One of the most fascinating things about top-tier engineers is that they're basically linguistic chameleons. They seamlessly adjust their language based on who they're talking to. If you talk to a product manager about transaction isolation and race conditions, their eyes are going to glaze over for sure. But if you say, we need protection so a withdrawal isn't approved twice by mistake, boom, they instantly understand. You have to translate those technical implementation details into real business impacts. Pulling it all together, the Senior Communication Standard really boils down to 5 things. Clear, leaving zero guesswork. Actionable, explaining exactly what's needed. Timely, exposing issues early on. Professional, separating the ideas from the people. And business aware, thinking way beyond just the code. This specific framework is the true differentiator that makes a senior engineer deeply, deeply trusted. And that brings us right back to our core quote. In real engineering teams, clarity is speed. When your communication removes the guesswork, your entire team moves faster. It's not just about you typing away at your keyboard. It proves that how you share information, how you unblock your peers, and how you frame decisions is literally just as important as the code you write. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. Think about your very next task at work. When you write your next async update, or when you draft your next ticket, or even review the next architectural proposal, is your communication going to create more questions for your team, or is it going to systematically prevent them? Keep striving for clarity, keep making things actionable, and keep building great things. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.